Hello everyone. Today we have another Q&A session. A few weeks before we had a Q&A session with Alexander Ivanov, CEO and founder of Waves platform. Today we have another very interesting guest, Alexey Kofman. He is product manager of Waves Node. And first of all, I'd like to start with thanking you all for your interesting questions, for your interest. It was a pleasure to pick the most interesting questions. I think today we will have some kind of technical discussion about Waves blockchain. And hello again, Alexey. Nice.
Hello, guys. Hello, everyone.
It's nice to have you here today. First of all, I have to say one thing about our traditional thing. In the end of this video, I will ask you about one interesting thing about Waves Node. And first, if you will give first answer for that question, you will get this T-shirt. As you can see, Alexey wears this kind of T-shirt also today. So let's dive into questions. We have a lot of questions. But first of all, I think we have to discuss about our last updates. We have a lot of updates last few months. And first of all, the most interesting question was about PoS algorithm, proof of stake algorithm. As we all might know, Waves use proof of stake, but we updated that proof of stake algorithm. So can you describe a little bit about proof of stake, and can you tell us when will we see the new PoS algorithm on the mainnet?
Okay. So as you probably know, we use proof of stake. It's very it's very simple. Currently, we use NXT formula from famous old-fashioned NXT blockchain. The advantage of this formula is that it's very simple. Using this formula allowed us to bootstrap very fast, to implement workable and good solution, and almost everything is okay with this. Everyone is almost happy, but there are a few disadvantages which we want to issue in our new update. First of all, this formula has some disbalance in block distribution. If we have some large miners in our network, they get more blocks than they should have. So it's not very fair. If you have a large miner, he gets more profit, and people tend to lease them more waves, and it becomes larger, and this can harm our decentralization. This is because of simplicity of this formula, so we want to change it. Second thing is that this is a very simple proof of stake, and it's exposed to some kinds of attacks, like well-known attacks. And we want to make it a bit more secure. We are okay with its security now, but for future we would like to see it more secure. And our new formula, new algorithm is more protected from multi-branch mining attack. So if some advisory mines on many branches, it gets in NXT formula, it gets huge advantage, and we reduced this advantage, so it's not so profitable to start this attack. And on the other hand, new algorithm is still very simple. It's still open for everyone to participate. If you have some amount of waves, you can join anytime. You can start mining blocks. It's similar. It's advantages are similar to what we had before. So it's very nice. And also the good thing is that we haven't spent a lot of time on reworking this. It's very close. Just formula is a bit changed. You can find a paper about this on our forum. We already published it. It's very nice. I like it.
And about when will we see it on mainnet?
We are going to. It's already implemented and tested on our DevNet internally. So we are happy with it, and we are going to release it on testnet. We want to release it tomorrow, maybe even today. I'm not sure. If today we don't have enough time, we'll do it tomorrow, but it should be released. And then we will test it for a week or two, and we'll release to mainnet soon, very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah, next release.
So our POS algorithm, it becomes more fair and secure. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Before we continue, I have to ask one thing because there are already questions on our YouTube. It's my fault. I didn't ask you about it. I wanted, but I forgot to ask. Can you tell a little bit more about you and your role in our team?
Okay, yeah. I'm a product manager in Waves Node team. It's a main core team in our company. We develop blockchain node, so everything related to blockchain, protocols, and so on. I'm here from almost 1 year, from July, and our team is from my point of view, it's very strong. We have 8 Scala developers, 2 very good QA engineers, analysts, and it's very powerful team actually, very smart people.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very smart people.
My role here is to define scope of features we want to deliver every release, to propose some requirements, to communicate to other teams, and so on. So it's like coordination and some guidance, providing requirements, defining scope.
But you know all technical details also.
Yeah, I'm a developer myself, so I know how to write programs. I know how blockchain works, how node works, what are advantages, disadvantages of our solutions, and so on.
Great. So let's go to another feature, sponsored transactions. It's ours maybe the most big update or second big update. Yeah, it's very important feature, I think.
Very complicated decision and very simple solution.
Yeah. Can you explain?
Yeah. Okay. Initially, our blockchain had a feature allowing you to use custom asset as a transaction fee. Usually, all blockchains use some base currency, some core currency to pay fees. And I don't know any other blockchain which allows this feature, which allows to issue custom token and pay for transaction using this custom token. And this is very attractive for some projects, some people who want to build some closed ecosystem where clients get their token and they can operate with this token without need to buy anything else, including Waves token. So it's very nice, very cool for some reasons, but our initial implementation had some drawbacks. In order to start using your asset as a fee, you need to go to all the miners and agree with all of them on how many people should pay, which quantity of token people should pay, agree the list of assets every miner accept, and it became more complicated. Miners have a lot of discussions which token should be accepted, which not, and so on. If your token is accepted by some miners but not accepted by other, you cannot include the transactions in all the blocks. So you can sometimes you get it mined, sometimes not. This is only part of the story. Another thing is that it was possible to generate a lot of transactions for free. So you can issue your token. Its price is 0. You can get millions of tokens, and then create almost free transactions, spam the network. This is very bad attack. So we think that all the transactions should cost something, at least be very cheap, but not free. And this is also important because we start implementing more complex features like smart contracts, which will require more fees. And we discussed this very long time, like half a year, with the community, with miners, with projects, with everyone. And we came with this solution. It's very simple. If you want your asset to be accepted as a fee, you just declare that you are ready to get those fees in your asset and pay miners in Waves. All the transactions cost the same amount of Waves, but you define how many tokens it costs for your end users. And this is like beneficial for both miners because they get like real waves for every transaction, no matter who made it. And it's very easy to create ecosystem with your token because you just make one transaction, you declare this, you deposit some amount of waves, and people start using this. And you get your tokens back when this happens. So it's very, very nice. Very nice economic model, by the way.
Great. Another big thing, smart contracts. Our first version of non-Turing complete smart contracts. Can you give us your vision of use cases of that smart contracts? And as a product manager, what kind of applications would you like to see in near future?
Okay, so let's talk first about non-Turing complete tokens, okay? Smart contracts. So, first of all, we are going to deliver two features actually, smart accounts and smart assets. Smart accounts is the ability to put some script, maybe similar to Bitcoin script, to your account. This script will be executed every time you perform.
But it has different syntax, right?
Yeah, of course. It's completely new language. We call it RIDE. It's very nice. It's like very functional, very cool. So every time you do a transaction, blockchain, all the nodes automatically run this simple script to verify it. I think that the most important application for those scripts are security cases. For example, different multi-signatures, two-factor authentications, atomic scripts, atomic swaps, and so on. Everything which is supported, for example, by Bitcoin, but we do it more functional. You can do more with our scripts because of some new features. What else? It's a fixed price. You don't have to buy gas. You always understand how much it costs at the beginning. So when you create smart account, you know how much transaction costs. So it's very cool.
Yeah. What kind of applications would you like to see in your future using our smart contracts?
As I said, security cases, security features. Multi-signatures is very important because this is the most important thing in cryptocurrency. You have to stay safe, right? Two-factor authentication. For me, it's the most important. Some people think that atomic swap is more important. Yes, it's cool. It also will be implemented. It's nice.
I can add one more thing. I will tease something in nearest future, and I think in a few days, we will run our competition. We call it online hackathon, and you can develop your own application using our smart contracts and get some kind of reward. In near future, in a few days, as I said before, we will publish more details about this competition, but stay tuned. You can try our smart contracts and try to develop your applications.
Yes, important thing about this contest, it's very cool, but everyone should understand that this feature is still actively developed. So what we do now is we allow access to early implementation of this, and implementation may be changed, may improved. So sometimes it's not backward compatible. Sometimes we have a lack of tools. So it's not that easy to compile, to check the script, to test it. But we are working on this, so it will all the necessary tools will come later. So, but now it's possible to start.
Next big feature we would like to talk about, it's the data transactions. What are data transactions and what difficulties do you need to solve about them and how you solve it?
Okay. As I said, our smart accounts, our smart contracts allow to do sometimes you can think that it's similar to Bitcoin scripts, but actually it can do more because it can access state of blockchain. And it's our original idea about data transactions was just to allow to put anything to blockchain, any data. Like you want to pay some document, okay, you can do this. But later we understood that it's cool to have an ability to put some data and then to be able to access the data from smart account to base some decisions based on this data, not just put data to be able to get it from off-chain application. And data transaction is this feature which allows this. And the most difficult in its design is to make it balanced. We don't want to do some feature which will be tuned for some specific cases, but we want it to be very powerful and generalize it. And we thought a lot about this feature, and now it's we get it in this shape we wanted to have. So you can put something, we can access from smart account. We have some examples. For example, notary example. You can allow some asset to be transferred only if some notary allows this transaction, and moreover, this notary can delegate its vote to other account to allow these transactions, and this all could be implemented very nicely on smart accounts, smart assets, and data transactions.
There is a question about all our new features. Can you give some test results from the new features that are being tested on testnet? There was a lot of excitement about the activation, but not much since then.
Okay, let me tell you about this. As you know, data transactions was released more than a month ago, and we have a lot of testing, user testing of this feature. What I can say, we collected a lot of feedback, and tomorrow we will release next next version of this feature with all the feedback implemented in improved transaction. So we added new types. We now have strings as a value type for data transactions. Before we had only byte arrays. We also have made values larger, like increased maximum size, and implemented other feedback. And this is mostly all. We don't have other features. Sponsored transaction works well. We have found some a few bugs on testnet, so we fixed them. Now it works well.
Okay. So there is a question about smart contracts. Is it possible to freeze only part of the tokens using smart contracts?
Part of the tokens. Okay, we have smart asset feature, which allows to put script on the asset.
Yeah.
For example, you can make it valid to send some specific operation with this asset and prohibit other operations. For example, you can make it not tradable at all or not transferable at all. For example, if it's loyalty program, for example. About partial freezing, it's not that easy because it's not Turing complete. You can do only limited amount of operations, but I think it's possible to do something. For example, you can allow transfer from the account if some quantity of assets still remains on the account. For example, some minimum required amount. Something like this is possible, but we need to think what's possible. You can. The good place to ask about this, ask those questions, is our forum. We have launched a forum, and we have topics about smart contracts there. It's a very good place to discuss those questions.
Yeah. There's another question about tokens. Do you have any plans to fight with spam tokens? My wallet is like an email with bad spam filters.
Yes, yes. We have maybe two features which we first of all, it's not about Waves not about blockchain, it's about client. But I know that the client team is going to do something about this. First of all, we're going to do some governance of verified assets. Not now, we'll do it in a few months maybe. And also we will optimize design of our wallet to make it easy to hide not like accepted token. You can move it to spam, for example, or you can move everything to some folder to default and only see verified tokens. And if you want to find something, you can go to another folder. Something like this will be for sure implemented.
There is another question that I'm interested in, somehow related to previous question. What about creating a repository for Waves improvement proposals?
No, it's not related. It's different. Okay, very good question. It's very important for me, and I will explain my vision of this. Currently, and before this moment, we was working like a typical product company. We have good team, we have product managers, we have analysts, we get some feedback from outside, we brainstorm some features, we write documentation for ourselves, we implement feature and roll out to community, right? This is a good way to work, and it allows us to make features very fast. Every 2 months we can roll out a release which contains a lot of cool, useful features, and it's very good. But as time goes, we start to affect a lot of third-party projects with our new features, and we feel that it's time to start changing our process to become more transparent, to maybe change process in a way, in following way, to get some feedback from community, get some proposals from community, write some public documentation, proposals, discuss it publicly, then implement it and test publicly, increase transparency. And that's why we created a lot of resources, documentation resource. Now we're creating forum to increase this transparency, and maybe this is next step. So we feel that we need it.
So right now you can go and post your thoughts and your improvement proposals to our forum and to our Waves documentation GitHub repository. It's open for pull requests, so at least there are 2 places where you can write your thoughts and write.
Yeah, I would suggest to start this forum.
Yeah.
Any proposals will be discussed and considered for implementation, and we'll try to put our own proposals to the forum or to some public places. And maybe in future it's a good solution to create special repository.
Yeah, there are some opinions in the questions list. For example, our user Sturov asks about burn transactions. In his opinion, they should be much cheaper, at least 100 times cheaper. It may help to reduce the number of spam tokens. What do you think about it?
Nice idea, but I wouldn't consider this as a something that will some good measure against spam. Of course it's possible. We'll do. You don't need to do transaction to actually hide these tokens. You will be able to hide these tokens with just
on client side.
Yeah, on client side, and it's not good to have free transactions as well. So transaction is very cheap, and if you want to fight against spam, we need to actually prevent it. Maybe you can increase price of creating a set, right? Or we should increase price of mass transfer.
Now it's only one Waves to issue one asset. You mean we can increase it maybe 100 times?
We can discuss. I know that on forum we have a topic with discussion of this question. It's very interesting. Maybe if I'm happy to increase this, because I always think it's good our miners and leaders to get more Waves.
Yeah.
If it's okay for projects, it's okay for me.
As Alexey said, there is a topic on forum, so if you have any thoughts about it, about this problem, you can go to forum and you can write down there.
Yeah, well, once we have some voting on our community site, we'll be able to maybe vote for this.
Also, Sturov offers to add field called tradable for tokens. This field can restrict trading on DEX, on our decentralized exchange. Do you see use cases of that field?
Yeah, it's nice. but we don't. Our approach is not to add separate fields for every requested feature. We are going to provide smart asset functionality, and you will be able to implement your own script. You can have some complex conditions. For example, you can trade in some time range or on some matcher, not official. For example, you can put your matcher, and you can say that you can trade this asset only on this matcher. Yeah. So it's okay. It's cool.
So there's a question about some kind of processes in our development team. Why the source codes of Node not documented? There are a lot of not obvious moments. Why don't you use objects instead of chaotic data structures?
Nice question. Okay, two parts. First one is why it's not documented. There are two opinions of documentation of code. First one is that it's good to put a lot of comments to code to make it readable for everyone who reads it. And comments can help. This is first opinion. And second one is that you should write your code in a way which makes it readable without comments. For example, name methods properly, name classes properly, name variables, refactor everything to make code look good. And I am supporter of second approach, to create fully readable code without comments. And most of developers in our team support this way as well. But I would agree with you that our code is not perfect now. Yeah. So it's not that readable without comments. And one of the reasons is that it's written in Scala, and Scala is very different to classic object-oriented languages like Java. And the difference is that it stimulates you to write code in a functional way, to use some, for example, tuples instead of objects in some cases. It's very specific also for me, because I'm not so familiar with Scala. I can read this code, but sometimes it's it looks very strange for me. Yeah. And this is inspired by language, by functional philosophy, and it's not something that we should change, I think, because this style is choice of our team. And as I know, to make it readable for you, you should have some experience in writing and reading, working with functional code. So it's a bit different. You need mind shift.
Yeah. There is a question about process of node update. Why the node update process arranged in such a way that the new features in the test network automatically become active before the vote for the acceptance of the feature?
Mm-hmm. There is some mistake here. Is this question? Actually, we have activation process on testnet very similar to what we have on mainnet. Very similar. It works the same way, except the activation period. On mainnet we have 10,000 blocks activation.
You failed my question. I'd like to ask about it later.
Okay, and yeah, we have one period, and on testnet we have different period of activation. All other things are the same. And actually, I don't like it very much, because I would like to start testing features on testnet as soon as possible after the release. But for example, our team lead, Alexey Kofman, is very conservative about this. He thinks that everything should be tested properly on testnet. So we have this
activation protocol also should be tested, right?
Also, yes, we have to test, because we switch, for example, proof of stake. It's very complicated. We move from one formula to another formula, and it should be automatic and very stable.
Yeah. So there's another question. How do you choose what features to implement?
We don't have some algorithm, some simple algorithm. We have a vision. Your team often have discussions with myself, with Sasha, with other guys, with Null, with client team, with our community, and we have some collective vision on what we should do, and we have some feedback. For example, fair proof of stake is very important because we want to increase decentralization and give more profit to our miners. And all the features are also, for example, smart contracts is very important because everyone is waiting for them. But we don't have some algorithm. We just think what, okay, we did, for example, we are going to do smart accounts in July. And we have one release in May. What should we deliver before smart contracts to make it fully functional? Okay, we have data transactions. With data transactions, we will have much more use cases for smart contracts. So let's implement data transactions first, and then when smart contracts will be ready, we will be able to use smart data transactions from smart accounts. Like this kind of logic.
So what do you think about dynamic system for calculating transaction fees? As I remember now in our client, it's fixed and you even can't change fee for transaction, for usual transfer transaction.
Yes. It's static and we are going to keep it static, but we don't want to do some complicated things. But anyway, it becomes complicated because now when we have smart account, for example, transactions from smart account will cost more because in order to process them, you need to run custom script on all the nodes. So, for example, if to calculate the total fee of transaction, we need to take the transaction and add some constant value to this, and it becomes like kind of dynamic, but like calculated by formula, but not dynamic. Dynamic, I think it's you mean that like in Bitcoin or Ethereum, and here is also huge difference because we have a huge amount, like not huge, large amount of transactions throughput, like transactions per second, and we have a lot of like free space, so we can any transaction you put in network will be mined for sure in a few seconds. It's not like Bitcoin where you have some queue of transactions, or not like Ethereum where you have very limited resources because of very huge contracts executing on every node. So we have some balance here, so we don't have queues of transactions, and all your transactions will be executed no matter how much fee you will pay. So it's fixed. We have some minimum fixed fee, and it works well now. Maybe in future when we have our capacity reach to a limit of our capacity, we will think about this.
Mm-hmm. There's a question about leasing. What is vulnerability of leasing in consensus? I can't say that I understand this question, but maybe you understand it. Are there any vulnerabilities of leasing in our consensus?
Maybe. I think I understand this question. Some people have opinion that, okay, let's start with proof of stake. What is proof of stake? What's the idea? The idea of proof of stake is that when you have to force the blocks, you need to have a certain amount of base currency, of waves. And if you have an ability to break the system somehow by forging like wrong blocks or performing some attacks, nothing can stake or something like this, you can harm the system. But if you harm the system, your stake will be decreased in value, right? Because price goes down, and you will not do this because of this, right? You invested something in this network, you want it to live, you want it to be good, to feel well, and so on. And with the leasing, it may look that it's a bit different because you don't have you may not have any waves yourself, but you can attract some lasers and forge blocks yourself. So you don't have this like incentive to keep everything right here, and this makes sense. This opinion makes sense. And my idea, maybe somewhere in future, we can discuss following way to maybe fix this issue, potential issue. Maybe we can require miners to have some small percentage of funds required for forging their oven. So let's say I have 10,000 waves, I can mine, and for example, I can attract, for example, like 10 times more or 20 times more lasers funds to forge blocks, but not more. If I have 1,000 of waves and I get million of leasings, it's not work like this. Something like this. But this needs to be discussed, voted, and all the it's not easy solution.
Yeah. Before we continue, there is a question on YouTube about how to ask your question. You can click on the link in the description of the video and ask there. You can also ask on YouTube on the comments there. I read the comments also, so you can ask anywhere. So there's another question about, do you have any plans to create more tools for node operators and make running a node and playing out lasers more user-friendly?
Could you repeat?
Yeah. Do you have any plans to create more tools for node operators and make running a node and playing out lasers more user-friendly?
I know that we have some open source tools, so I don't think core team will do something regarding this in the near future.
I think it's convenient
you
enough
can do it.
now.
You can do it yourself. It's easy.
Yeah, it's
not easy, but it's makes sense.
Yeah, there's another question about fully decentralized social platform. It's a question for me. I'm writing right now an article about that, so stay tuned. I will publish it soon, and you'll get more details about it. There is another question. Will we see user interface for a running node on PC soon?
I don't think we don't have this in like our nearest roadmap. It would be nice to have it, but we always need to choose whether to implement smart contracts, for example, or implement some user interface for node. Our current node is very easy to run actually. I often run my node on my laptops. It's very easy.
Okay.
But again, everyone can do it himself.
Yeah.
We have API, so it's easy. You can make pull requests, make separate product, make everything.
And there's a documentation. Really, it's easy enough, I think, to run your own node. It's not so hard.
No, it's cool to have a UI also.
It's cool, but
you can see blocks you mine.
It's always a trade-off what to implement. So UI is not in the pipeline right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a question, guys. Why there are no actions to attract projects from other platforms? This will greatly strengthen the interest of investors and attract new ideas and projects.
Actually, I don't know what to answer to the question. I would like to get more projects. What do you think?
But how to do it, right?
Yeah, actually, we have. I can tell my vision on this. As you know, Inala is our
developer advocate.
Developer advocate. He's intended to work with some projects, to help projects, but there is a lot of work. So we will get more people in his team. So a lot of people like now, and when they have more like resources, more power, more like I don't know, more tools, they will have they will be able to spend more resources on getting more projects and helping them to onboard. It's not a question for core team. Core team makes good products. Developer relations team get more developers and more projects.
From my side, I can say that now we have smart contracts, and there are much more use cases of Waves, and I think it should be easier, and we will attract more new projects on Waves. So stay tuned, as I said before. There's a question: why do you think a voting system where you can buy votes on open market is the best approach?
It depends on case. For example, if you have a company and you have people having shares of this company, and you need to vote for some decision, for example, to hiring new president or vice president of this company, or like some strategic decisions, it's good to use company shares to vote for voting. The more shares I have, the more voting power I have. I can buy more shares, and I will get more voting power. This is reasonable, right? If you elect president of your country, probably it's not cool. So you have to have some identity of a person and use it for voting. So different use cases, different approaches. We don't think that it's good to we don't have that don't think that there is one single the best approach.
Yeah. So there are two questions about our future plans. I will join them into one question. How well are you progressing through the roadmap 2018, and what are the future concrete plans?
We actually progressing well, I think. So it were like smart contracts is very difficult feature which we were intended to deliver, and we actually delivering it. So it's very nice. We deliver a lot of more features like mass transfer, data transactions, fair proof of stake, and like other projects. I know they can do something for years and still don't deliver anything. So it's from my perspective, it's very good speed, good velocity of like developing and delivering features. It's difficult to compare with other blockchain because they don't have like monthly or 2 monthly releases with real features. So I think it's well. Sometimes it's not accurate because it's still like roadmap, because it might change. At the beginning of the year, we haven't planned, for example, fair proof of stake feature, but as we realized that it's needed, we started to invest resources in it, and it was finally implemented. And this is just our vision on, like, our prediction. In software development, you often get such situation. You cannot predict everything like day to day. It's very difficult. And the scope of features changes, and difficulty of feature changes. So it's roadmap is just vision, what we are going to do at current moment. Like in a month, we can change it if we understand that another feature is more important. Please don't consider this as some deadlines. It's not proper.
Yeah. There's another question about processes in team. Can you tell us more about processes in the team? Do you use Agile, Scrum, or something like that? And how do you use it?
No, we don't have something like Scrum. I will explain why. Because we have a lot of features which are very complicated, and it's every time it's something new we do. So it's not some features we can estimate properly using our previous experience. So now we are doing like a compiler for the smart accounts. It's very new. We create new like development environment, new editor for smart accounts, like execution environment. It's very new to us, for example. Proof of stake also. It's a lot of research. And usually we do following. When we start some feature, we create some sub-team consisting of 2, 3, or 4 developers working on this feature. This sub-team defines their own process of how they work. They can have some plannings. They can do it without plannings, just do what they want, do some research. And this is how it works. We decided to have a release cycle, fixed release cycle, one release per 2 months. This is our, like, maybe you can call it iteration, but it's not like Scrum iterations because it's much longer than the possible Scrum iteration. That's all. We have stand-up meeting, for example, every day from Scrum, but it's not we understand that it's not like typical agile process, but it's okay for us.
And it's flexible.
Yeah. Other teams, for example, our front-end team, they have something more close to Scrum because it's convenient for them.
There is another question about our future plans. Most of internet traffic is generated by mobile devices. Why did you decide to move the mobile wallet and DEX update to Q4?
This is probably from some of previous roadmaps, right?
Yeah.
What can I say? Actually, we haven't decided to move something to Q4. We have a mobile applications team, and it's working on updates for those applications right now. So the main goal for them is to change like design of application, change its structure, navigation, to make it more like design for desktop wallet. So same styles, same experience, nice like structure and so on. And yes, original plan was to do all the changes and deliver them at the end of the year, but later we have decided to break down those deliveries into several parts, and some new design will appear like much sooner. I think it will appear in summer, but I will not promise.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, it's just roadmap, like current vision. I think, my opinion, I was talking to the guys, that they will deliver something in summer, so it will be completely new user experience, very nice, very good.
So there's another question, it's just about your opinion maybe. What do you think about sidechains as a scalability solution?
Yeah, it's nice. Of course, everyone likes it, but it's from the development point of view, it's rather complicated. A lot of things need to be done to prepare, first of all, the platform to those solutions, and you need to do it in the proper time. So you don't. If you currently we have like our scalability based on chain solution, you know, Waves and G, it works well for now, and for some further features, I think we will use it. I think maybe we'll use sidechain even for during complete smart contracts. There is some ideas on how to do this to make it, to avoid running everything on chain.
On each node.
Maybe it's the way we will choose, but it's not like decided yet.
Okay. There are a few questions about Waves community token and when we'll start it working. We can answer this question, but I think it's better just to say that you can view our video, our Q&A session with Sasha Ivanov. He asked a lot of questions about Waves community token.
I can tell my opinion actually.
Yeah.
I know that our community team working on new website, and they're going to include some functionality for voting with those tokens. So let's check what we have as a result. Maybe it will be something cool.
There is a question about what's your plan to increase trading volume on Waves DEX?
We see that it's already increased. The main thing to increase volume is to, like, okay, there are some different directions. First of all, we need to attract liquidity, right? If we attract trading bots, market makers, we get good spread, good liquidity, and people can start using it as an exchange. Like a few months ago, it was difficult to trade even on some popular pairs like Ethereum BTC or, for example, I don't know, Ethereum Waves. It was very difficult because there was no liquidity. Now it's better. It becomes much better. We are attracting market makers, providing APIs, and it works well. This is first. And second thing, I think it's not like it's required to make a usable exchange is a new user interface, new client. Currently, it's as you know beta client. It's like it contains something which allow you to trade, but it's far from perfect solution, very far. And our client team is working on new interface, like great updates there. I have seen it. As a trader, I am trading myself. I like it very much. So it will be much better.
There are questions also about voting using miners reward token and Waves community token. What's the status of the tokens, and they should be implemented a long time ago. When to expect that?
I don't know when, but I already said that we're doing something in this direction.
In voting direction also. Yeah. So are Waves atomic swaps set to replace the gateway system, or will each trade occurring on DEX require atomic swap?
No, of course not. Atomic swap is just functionality allows you to exchange tokens with some people having similar tokens on other blockchains in trustless way. So it's not. I don't think it will be full-featured replacement of current gateways, and of course it will be possible to trade on DEX without atomic swaps, because the DEX is now like atomic swaps is very slow and expensive operation anyway.
So will Waves be compatible with the Bitcoin Lightning Network?
Difficult to say. Compatible? I don't know.
As I know, Lightning it's an off-chain protocol. So
yeah, it's off-chain protocol. Bitcoin's approach to solve scalability issues is very interesting. We need to see what happens with Bitcoin, with Lightning, how it developed. Currently, we don't have these scalability issues, so we go our way. And we're preparing to implement some off-chain and the solutions like atomic swaps and Lightning. And we need to understand how usable it will be in fact.
Yeah, as I know, there are some community members who try to develop something like a Lightning network for Waves, but I'm not sure that it's compatible with Bitcoin Lightning network. So.
Yeah, if it's possible, it will be technically possible to do.
Yeah.
But the question is, will it be how much it will be needed by community, by users, by end users? We don't want to implement something just to implement this. We need, if we see demand, if we see some real technical reasons to implement this, we'll do it. But now we need to look what happens around.
So there is another question. It was said to commence during the summer after Wave starts its Turing Complete smart contracts. Does that mean Turing Complete is expected on testnet this summer?
I don't think. We have a lot of milestones in delivering a first iteration of our smart contracts. For example, in July, we'll probably deliver some first version to mainnet, but then we'll have to but with some limitations. For example, it's not that trivial to make accounts protected by smart scripts trading on DEX. DEX should understand what's the script and allow only certain accounts to trade on them, on DEX. And for example, I think that in July, we'll deliver only first iteration with limitations. For example, without ability to trade on DEX. And then at the end of summer, we'll probably improve this, implement missed features and so on. And my opinion is that we'll start non-Turing complete active development in autumn.
In autumn.
But we already discovering some ways we can approach Turing complete smart contracts. There are different well-known like approaches. So we started to investigate, but it's not active development.
I see. So there's a question about our clients also. At the moment, you can see maximum 1,000 transactions in the client. When will it be possible to see and download the whole transaction history of the client?
Of course. I will explain how it happens. Currently, our client goes to directly to Waves node to get the transactions, and node have some simple API to give all the transactions, some transactions by the address, actually latest like 1,000 or 2,000 transactions. And in order to implement this feature or maybe something even more interesting, like sorting, getting all the transactions of certain type or other criteria, or some interesting search ability. Wallet team creates their own database where they will store all the transactions and perform search here. And this is they are already in progress on delivering this, and this will be implemented very soon. And once they do it, they will be able to do anything, like export everything, search for anything, and so on. So this will be implemented for sure.
There is a question, why we can't attract independent developers to work on Waves just like Ethereum have?
Several reasons. First of all, it's very, like Ethereum was the first blockchain with such a rich functionality, allowing developers to develop decentralized applications. So it's always easier when we do something first to attract first developers. And the second thing is that we didn't have smart contract, and we don't have it yet. So we will start with this online hackathons. We'll maybe participate in offline hackathons as well. So we'll start doing this.
Yeah. So there's a question, when we can see most projects transfer from Ethereum to Waves?
I don't know. Same answer actually.
As soon as possible, yeah.
As soon as possible. Actually, we have interesting situation on the market. We have Ethereum, the only working system. It's overloaded. It's like it's very expensive, and a lot of new projects try to implement something, but they only have some have prototypes on testnet. Some don't have anything, just cool idea and cool teams. But very few teams have something working and something new as well, something interesting. And we are going to to be the project like this. We are already working. We delivering at full speed. We have working prototype. In a month or two, we'll get smart contracts ready, and everyone can start. It's easy.
There's a question, what's the plan to make Waves immune against Bitcoin volatility?
Immune?
Yeah.
It's a very economic question. There is no plan. It's very difficult to do this.
It's almost impossible, I think, in current situation and market.
You can try if you want, but why? It's okay to have volatility.
Do you have any plan about privacy? I mean, to hide addresses or something like that, hide senders and receivers?
Currently, no. Currently, we don't. In our nearest roadmap, we don't have any features like this. So it's for the privacy, we have different products like Zcash. You can use it, and we are focused mostly on crowdfunding, on open projects. Maybe it's good to have more transparency in this area.
Some anonymous user asks, give us few good ideas as experts. What would you really like to see as startup on Waves?
Nice question.
Yeah.
So, like, there are two huge areas we can divide. First thing is like some token economy startups, where you have some business, some maybe real business, something interesting, but you also need tokens. It's just tokens. It's not that interesting for development. And another is technological startups. I would like to have something related to trading, maybe some new trading interfaces, some infrastructural like tools, for example, like some analog of MetaMask, we think to develop it. Something, what else? Explorers, new explorers maybe.
There are a lot of interesting things to implement. As I showed today in Twitter, for example, you can implement something like decentralized social platform.
No, I don't think that this is a
it can be a startup.
Proper use case.
It's not a proper use case.
If you need social network on blockchain, you probably need to design it, like Steam it, to design from the beginning for this approach.
As a startup,
and use it for this.
Maybe using data transactions, you can, I don't know, try to implement something like betting systems.
Betting is very nice idea.
Yeah,
gaming. We want gaming.
Yeah,
we have a department, guys help gamers to onboard.
For example, you can implement something like plugin for game development things and make it easier to implement token economy in games, something like that.
Yeah, also some tools, some infrastructural tools. For example, Telegram bots, for like notifications. Some maybe Telegram wallets, something like this.
Is the documentation already available? Yes, it's available. You can look at docs.wavesplatform.com. It's available for smart contract also, docs.wavesplatform.com. So there's a question, what price we can expect by end of June, but I'm not sure that it's a proper question, so we will skip it, I think. What do you think about sharding technology?
Sharding is... I'm not sure that in nearest future anyone will be able to provide a really effective sharding technology for blockchain. And most probably the first products which will be able to do that will make some mistakes to learn, and other projects which go like after them will benefit from learning these mistakes by other projects. But I think we should see some prototypes in the near future.
Yeah. Are you interested about Greeting Messenger app in Waves blockchain? Greeting Messenger app. I heard.
Greeting?
Yeah. Can you explain it? At least you can go to our forum and you can write about it.
We have,
you can explain it.
On our forum we have a project section.
Yeah.
If you want to get feedback from community, from our team, from like some experts, miners, users, other projects, just go to this forum, to projects section, or maybe an idea section. You can create a topic and ask for feedback. It would be very beneficial.
Yeah, and in the end of our Q&A section, there is very, very interesting question. It's not like with Sasha, but it's very interesting also. How do you guys relax outside the office? How do you relax outside the office?
We have this building. We have a cool roof and a veranda. It's very very nice weather in summer in Moscow. We have Kremlin right after our office, so it's very nice. We have a lot of bars here in this area. We can go to the bar.
So I think we answered all questions from our dear viewers, and in the end, as I said, I will ask you, Alexey said a few words about it, and now your task is a little bit simpler, but if you will answer my question, you can get this t-shirt. So my question sounds like, what percentage of blocks
How many blocks?
Sorry?
How many blocks?
I will ask about it also. what percentage of blocks should be with feature support before it becomes approved, and how many blocks should have to pass before feature become activated. It's a little complicated question. You have to answer with 2 numbers.
No, and let's add the question about testnet as well. How many blocks you need on testnet?
Yeah, there were a question about
how many blocks to approve and how many blocks to activate.
Yeah, on testnet and on mainnet. And I think it's all. Thank you, Alexey, for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you. There were a lot of interesting questions. Thank you for your time also, our dear viewers, and bye.
Bye, everyone.